Hey guys, long time no see. My name's Alexis. I am the social media assistant for ISAR 2020. First of all, I just want to say, I hope all of you guys are safe during this time. It is a very hard time right now. So, I'm just glad that you guys are watching this right now. But, enough about that. I do have a very special guest today. I have Lynn Bell with me, and she has a workshop for ISAR 2020 called Unbinding Desire, How Venus Gets What She Wants. So Lynn Bell is going to tell us a lot of great details about that. But before that, I do want to let you guys know that this workshop will be on September 14th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So before we talk about the workshop, Lynn, can you tell us something about yourself?
Well, Lexis, I've been an astrologer for a very long time. I've been coming to ISAR's conferences. I think I've only missed one since the late 90s. I live in Paris, but I grew up in Chicago. So when I was young, I kind of needed to find the right place, right? So I'm somebody who's had an interesting life. I've lived in Paris much longer than I lived in the States. I taught for many years, for 20 years, at the Center for Psychological Astrology in London, which is Liz Green's school. So I was one of the primary tutors there. And now I teach online for MISPA, Mercury Internet School of Psychological Astrology, and for Astrology University. Those are the two main places. But normally I'm traveling and moving and going places. And at the beginning of this year, actually, I was at the Australian conference, flying into environmental Armageddon, and then passing on a Chinese Airways through Southeast Asia and coming back in early February to Paris. So I've been very close to the events in this world this year. I'm a psychological astrologer, which means a lot of things. I think people don't understand sometimes what that means anymore. I work very deeply with people. I'm very interested in the soul, as well as the psyche, which is the same word in ancient Greek. And I'm follow people over a long period. So my work has lots and lots of different elements to it. And I like to do new things I've never done before. So one of the reasons I'm talking about Venus at the conference is because Uranus is in Taurus. And as everyone knows, Venus is about to enter Gemini today. And will stay for a very long time in the same part of the sky. During this time where our lives are very odd and we can't just do what we want and we can't just get what we want, sometimes even simple things we can't get. I think one of the ways to think about this Venus retrograde is actually, and all the other events we're going through, is that we're going to know what we really want when this is over. And that in some ways is the first clue to help Venus get what she really wants. Because there is such a huge change in our desires. Like, you know, it is always interesting to be thwarted in life, which many of us are at the moment, but not all of us. But being thwarted in the beginning can be dealt with by impatience and anger, all kinds of things, but that's not how Venus gets what she wants. So I'm very interested in really exploring these inner processes, and I think this is going to be a talk where people are really want to know. They will have already by September, when we get to ISAR, people's relationship with what they want is going to be very different than it was 6 months ago. And so you could say that this situation, although it's not in Venusian in any way, because it's pulling us inward, and our inner planets are the moon and Venus and Mercury, we are all asked to make new relationships with those inner planets. And as we do that, the way we go out in the world, the way we the way we interact with people. I mean, some of us are just going to want to have fun. But when I'm talking about how does Venus get what she wants, I want to talk on many different levels about, what we want now and how we get that. But what we want really in every cell in our body and with the deepest strata of our being. So I'm looking forward to giving this talk at ISAR, and I really want to be there.
I mean, personally for me, I mean, Venus is my chart ruler. She's exactly conjunct my descendant. So like, yeah, I know. So like, I mean, like,
yeah.
Tying like desire to Venus, like a lot of what you seem to be talking about seems to be, during a time like this where like not a lot of things are in our control. Not like anything's in our control, but like times right now are really reminding us that things are really not in our control. Venus, when you talked about like desires and like getting what we really want, and like, we may want one thing, but really Venus has another idea. What I kind of thought about is kind of like, that's kind of like another way of kind of like reevaluating like our relationships with ourselves. Because like we're at a point where like we can't see anyone else. So what relationships can we work on? Like our relationships to ourselves. So I was like, oh, that's a really, desire in general is such a very, or like what we want is such a very gripping feeling or question that we have to face as humans. So I can't wait to see what you'll provide at the workshop, especially because I'm a Venusian, so it's very interesting.
And there's two parts to desire. There's also the Mars part to desire, and so very often we confuse them, or very often one moves to the other really quickly, and so there's almost like an opportunity to separate those two out right now because Mars is disabled, right? We can't, there's a lot of things we can't do, but, and, so we could consider that Venus is disabled too, if they're too strongly too powerfully connected, right? But at the same time, there's almost a way of wanting different things right now because we don't have a choice really, and if you're handling it badly, it's not going to go well, right?
Yeah.
So it may not be pretty.
Yeah, and that's definitely not what Venus wants.
Definitely, Venus wants it to look good.
Yeah, at least make it look cute.
So that is so in fact, one of the things I'm talking about is the fact that while Uranus is in Taurus, our relationship to Venus changes on many, many different levels. So because it's in the Venus ruled sign, so it's not surprising that we'd be invited into a process of this kind, although I can imagine many forms it might have taken.
Definitely.
Other than the particular one.
Yes. So one other thing that like surprised me was that you told me that you've only missed one ISAR conference, which means like you're like an ISAR like veteran, like you've been to like a lot of the conferences.
Yeah, I've been I've been a speaker at those conferences.
Oh,
right? So that's what I mean by that. So I think there is one some years ago that I wasn't at for some reason. I don't know what it was, but very often I've been invited. I've been extremely well treated by ISAR, and people have liked my work. Yeah, I love ISAR as an organization. I think they're doing really great work in creating communities and standards. I was just at the first ISAR conference in China in November. So David Rayleigh brought Alexander, the president of ISAR, Mrazajik, and his wife Leah, and me to do pre and post conference workshops. But the main body of the conference was in Chinese with his students and members of ISAR. Isn't that incredible?
That's incredible. I didn't even know there was an astrology conference in China.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, so there were about, I think about 150 people, or and not all the ISAR members of China could come, but they also video broadcast, I think, some of the talks. So I
Oh.
met some of the speakers, but of course I don't speak Chinese, so I couldn't. I
Mhm.
got to visit the Great Wall while they were speaking. But I loved every time I've been to China. Um,
Mhm.
I've really loved the working with the Chinese students, and David, has brought that community in contact with the world community thanks to ISAR, and I think that's just been
Mhm.
fantastic. So
Yeah, I mean, ISAR really bringing the whole world in of astrologers coming in because, like, I mean, believe it or not, America's not the only country
yeah,
here. There's like so many other countries that have so many other interesting things to say, and I only see ISAR really making that huge effort. And like, I didn't even know there was an astrology conference in China. That makes ISAR sound so much more cooler.
yeah. Well,
The ISAR conference in 2020 is just as good, but we'll see when it
well, the
happens.
conference in 2020 is going to be. We're going to be so happy to see each other. And
Oh yeah.
I think there is something you get when you can talk to people from all over the world, or you meet your tribe because
Mhm.
my first astrology conferences were in Switzerland.
Ooh.
I went to a Swiss conference. The first time I heard Liz Green speak was in 1982 in Zurich.
Mhm.
And it was organized by Americans and German speaking people. And so there was this combination of astrologers from Europe and from all over the world. And that was so exciting. And one of the things that happens when you go to your first conference, or even not your first conference, is you meet people who will be your tribe for many years to come. And it's such an exciting process to have the people, well, who aren't just doing pop astrology, but who are really diving deeply into the language.
Mhm.
And I think also astrologers are an extraordinary tribe.
Yes.
And that's why I travel a lot, even though I work a lot over the net right now. And people are interested in my work and go to www.lynnbellastrology.com to see what I do and what I'm teaching. But I love being able to contact people this way, but being with people in person is very special and exciting. You know,
Yeah.
it's astrologers are good people.
Oh yeah. We're good. We're smart. We're funny. I mean, we look great. I mean, maybe that's what happens when you look at the stars, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think that's pretty much it for the interview. Lynn, you gave such a great interview and a great, preview of what your amazing workshop is probably going to be like. And I'm sitting over here like, Venus is very important in my chart. I should probably take a look because like she also aspects everything. So, but like, anyways, thank you so much for sitting with me and listening and like talking and just sharing yourself. Like, I really appreciate that. Do you have anything else you want to say?
No, just really to encourage those who are listening to come and look at how Venus really gets what she wants.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching.